Jenny McCarthy Show. Oh!
Joining me right now, Jedediah Bila. She, you know her from, everywhere, from Fox to The View just recently. New book out in October called #DoNotDisturb, How I Ghosted My Cell Phone to Take Back My Life. God, that's called bravery. Hi, Jedediah, how are you?
How are you, babe? You look gorgeous.
Thank you.
I've been telling everyone. I walked in, I was like, she's gorgeous. She's gorgeous. You don't need a PR team. You have me.
Thank you very much. And my husband who loves me for me. So
yes, exactly.
I'm all right. And my son, all that stuff. So you're working on a book about removing technology in your life. Were you a cell phone addict?
I was. I was a cell phone addict. I'm not even here to talk about the book, by the way, because the cover's not out yet. So you know, if we promote it, no one's going to go over there. But it's fine.
Pre-buy it though right now?
Pre-orders aren't even out yet. No, I'm just here to chat with you about life and whatever. But
I would love that.
Yeah, I did actually. I did have a terrible tech addiction. So the book is basically a series of embarrassing, humiliating, really personal stories about stuff that I was doing that was really messed up. Crazy ex-boyfriend. Like, I really dished the dirt. And then
Were you a stalker?
I was not a stalker.
Okay,
I was not a stalker, but I was like missing my life. I was really missing my life. And I was like, I mean, when you're taking like belfies at the gym, like the butt selfie, and you're like, I mean, that's a bad look, you know? And then like, you know, an ex-boyfriend who had a secret life in his phone, shall we say. We can get more into that when I come back for the book. But
oh my God, I can't wait to read your book.
But I do it all. I mean, I talk about like sex dolls and sex robots and pornography, and we dig deep because I feel like Silicon Valley is just doing what it wants and we're all just eating. We're like little Pac-Man, you know, you just eat the stuff without asking any questions. And then the positive thing is I kind of came out of it and now I own the technology in my life. So it's like, what can you do to kind of recognize what's going on and then make a change? And I don't tell people what to do, but I tell them this is what I did. It worked for me. It might work for you. Check it out. But I think more than anything, seeing me be humiliated is probably why people will buy the book.
Oh, for sure.
For sure.
But there's that percentage that goes, okay, you know what? I know I'm addicted to my phone.
Right.
And I know I need to do something about it because my kids see that I'm addicted to my phone. And if it worked for you, then I got to figure out some way to, you know, help myself.
Right.
Because
Exactly.
I surely don't have the fucking answer, especially because I have the excuse of, I've got to keep up with pop culture. I've got to see what's going on.
Right.
I want to, you know, and it's when you have that excuse, it's kind of it's first of all, it's lame because you can still put a curfew on yourself. Do you believe in your spouse or boyfriend being able to put a curfew on your phone?
You know what's really funny about this whole story is that I married a millennial who is a low-tech millennial. So you know how like all the millennials are like plugged in all the time? This guy I met, and the first weekend we went away, he took the phones and he put them in a drawer and he was like, we're not doing that. Like every first date, we went on like a series of dates in the beginning. We went on long walks. I never saw his phone. And of course, because I had like the crazy ex-boyfriend with the secret life in his phone, I was like, this guy's doing some shady shit. Like he's keeping his phone from me. I got to get that. Of course, I was like thinking the worst. Turns out he was just like a really normal guy who just didn't have a lot of tech in his life. I know I found a normal guy. Isn't that amazing?
You know what? That's really amazing.
So
and
I'm
raising one of them.
He could put like a curfew on my phone, but he doesn't have to because we're kind of on the same page of like the second we kind of hang out at home. And I'm like you though, like I come from news. So I'm used to, I have to be plugged in all the time. I have to be on Twitter. I have to know everything Donald Trump says. I have to be one step ahead of him because I may have to comment on it. But when we hang out, we just kind of toss the phone and we just hang out.
Oh, that's so nice. You know what my son says to me, who's 15, prime time for phones.
Oh, hell yeah.
Says to me, Mom, put the phone down and let's go back to the 1800s.
Tell him like he can go to like 1985. He doesn't have to go that far back if he doesn't want to.
He thinks 1985 is the 1800s. Because he goes, let's go back to the time when you were a kid in the 1800s and no TV and no phone. I'm like, listen, there was been a lot of developments in the 80s, Evan, not the 1800s.
Right.
So are you planning on marrying this cute little?
I'm married already. I got married 2 months ago.
Congratulations.
We're married. I got hitched. Yep. Got my ring. He's like more mature than I am. It was funny because I always dated older men, significantly older. Like it was a joke at one point. My dad was like, as long as he's younger than me, I'll be fine. Just please make him young. My dad's like in his mid 70s. So it could have happened, but yeah, it's just funny. And I met this guy who's like, 26 years old and more mature than I am. So it's like, how did that? That's really interesting.
Kind of fun. What is that age difference then? Would you care about
No, I don't care at all. It's 13 years. So
That's not too bad.
yeah, it actually, like, I don't even notice it. It's really funny, but I always had an age gap the other way. And I didn't really notice that either. I think I don't know. I'm just like not.
Well, for that way is considered normal.
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like I always say on the show, when I lived in LA, when I was 40, I had to date 70.
Right,
because the 40-year-olds were dating 20-year-olds.
Exactly.
So I literally had to move out east to find age-appropriate men that would date age-appropriate girls.
Right, exactly.
But in LA, you're screwed. But
Forget
you did
it.
the opposite. I liked the
got to turn the tables, break the glass ceiling.
I want to talk about your transition from. I mean, obviously you're an amazing journalist. You've done great job on Fox. Now you were at The View, left The View on your own terms.
I didn't choose to leave, if that's what you're asking.
Yes,
it wasn't my decision. Yeah, I had just re-upped for I did, so I tested for the season prior to joining a lot, which I loved, then joined the 20th season, did the full 20th season, and then did like the first, I want to say, week and a half of the new season, so I had re-upped for that season, and then I don't really know what happened.
No one really does when that happens.
No. I mean, what
I've
I will
talked to everybody that has gone through there, and they go, well, I don't really quite know.
No, I don't. I didn't have any. What I can say is, like, when it's The View, everyone thinks, oh, there was a fight, or oh, you didn't get along with this person. I had a great relationship with all the ladies, like super close. Still keep in touch with all of them. Never had a fight with a producer. Love them all. Like, they were like my family. So I have no idea. All I know is that when I got the phone call, I was like, wow, I need to rearrange my entire life because you're not prepared. So that's what I've been doing.
I would imagine, because when we go through something like this in our own lives and we don't know it's coming, I mean, we're in a constant state of unemployment. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you go from one job to the next, and there's like this gap of going, will I work again? And of course I'll work again. Like I'm a go, but it's still nonetheless scary. So did you have that like, that pit in the stomach night of like sweats?
I did.
Human being?
I did. First, I went through what happened. What did I do? Did something happen I don't know about? There were a lot of stories that popped out, people speculating that I was like, did that happen? I really didn't know. So, and then I went through, where am I going from here? What do I want to do? I had to kind of figure out what I wanted to do. It was the first time in my life that I actually sat and said, okay, now I'm going to do what I want to do. So I finished my book. I went and got married. I did have people reach out from the news industry immediately and be like, come here, do this. But I didn't want to jump because I felt like I had spent my whole life, I tested for The View while I was still working as a full-time employee at Fox News, hosting a bunch of shows. I never had that break where I got to sit and say, do I want to do this? Is the right move for me? Is this where I want to be? So I was like, you know what? I'm a grown-ass woman. I need to sit back and figure out what I want to do. So that's what I'm doing. And I do kind of know, I think now in my mind, where I'm going to wind up. Can't say it yet because I haven't signed any dotted lines yet. But in my mind, I'm like, okay, that path makes sense for me. But it feels good because I actually thought about it. I actually sat and said, all right, this is what I want to do for the first time ever, I think, in my entire history of being alive.
You chose what you want to do.
Yeah, I chose me, which is like, it's so, people say, oh, you get, as a woman, I feel like you take heat for that because you're expected to always, I remember when I got into this business, a dear friend of mine gave me advice and she said, just say yes to everything because that's how you'll get ahead. And I was like, that was terrible advice. I did a lot of jobs I didn't want to do. Everybody used and abused in the industry because they were like, oh, she'll go on here for 2 minutes and here for 2 minutes. And I lost me. So
100% agree. You know what I mean? I mean, what would you say looking back was the greatest thing you learned from being on that show and kind of what you won't miss?
From The View, from being on The View?
Yeah.
I think what I learned is that you can really have a conversation with people who completely disagree with you and really genuinely like them and be Sunny and Sarah are my friends. They're my girls. Whoopi and Joy as well. We just weren't as close because Sunny and Sarah traveled a lot with me. Like went to Disney. We did a whole bunch of stuff together that we taped. But I think learning how to listen, and also I had never worked with a live audience before. So learning how to I got booed sometimes I got applauded, sometimes I expected to get applauded and there was like dead sound and I was like, oh wow, I thought that was a really cool comment I made, nobody else did, so just feeling that vulnerability of, in that moment, you may be disagreeing with the panel, you've got a whole bunch of people that might be disagreeing with you, and just feeling the energy and learning to kind of be yourself. That was my lesson. So now I feel like when I go, I did Greg Gutfeld's show a couple times last month, and they have a live audience too. And I felt so me. I was like, wow, I get it now. Like, I get that I'm just me, and this energy is here to help me, and all of that.
What will you not miss?
What will I not miss? Well, certainly when I got booed. Nobody likes to get booed.
That's only because Whoopi buys the audience guy who claps and gifs. It's
well, you know what I won't miss? Okay, I'll tell you. Whoopi Goldberg is an icon. Like, I grew up watching Ghost, watching her movies.
Absolutely.
I love her.
Me too. When I met her, I was like, oh my God, you're my hero.
She's my hero. I won't miss when it would get heated and I would have that moment where I'm like, oh my God, you're debating Whoopi Goldberg. Like, come on, girl. Like, this is not good for you. This is not going to end well for you. You know? So
no, and plus she's in charge of ending the conversation.
Exactly.
And it ends it when you're not done yet.
Right. It ends when she's made the most amazing point and you're like, and scene.
And I didn't get a chance to get my point across.
Exactly.
Thank you very much.
So I won't miss that. But even that, I feel like, you say you won't miss it, but it was probably good training for me to be, especially if I'm going to be, hosting anything. I kind of need to. You need that.
And now
check.
you know next time you have a live studio audience, you buy the audience clapper guy some gifts, and they'll clap for every point you make too.
Exactly.
So I mean, it had to be so weird, especially because I think it's like a lion's den, especially with The View in terms of Donald Trump being the president. Mm-hmm. Where do you stand with all that? Where are your views? Because I know you're a libertarian, correct?
Yeah. So this was a very hard election for me because I'm a libertarian conservative, which means I'm a right winger. Generally, on most issues, I'm a freedom lover. Basically, I want your taxes low. I don't want you to be forced to have health insurance if you don't want, but I also want you to be able to marry whoever you want.
Yep.
But I was this right winger who didn't vote for Donald Trump. I didn't vote for him. I couldn't do it because I felt that he had serious character issues. I want a president that I can look up to. I felt that he was going to be what he is, which is this knee-jerk reaction guy who was going to take all the important issues, were going to take a backseat to his melodrama. And that's what has happened. So I didn't vote for him, and I wrote in Rand Paul. So when I made that decision, I said, where am I going to fit in this industry? Where am I going to go? Because conservatives who are going to be mad at me because they're going to say, oh, you gave Hillary a vote, basically, by doing a write-in. Liberals were going to be mad at me because even though I didn't vote for Donald Trump, I wrote in Rand Paul and I didn't vote for Hillary. And I was like, where am I? What am I going to do? So it's been a real challenge, honestly, to kind of, and I think the way that what has worked for me is that I've always been a truth teller. So I marketed myself from day one as someone who was going to hold Republicans and Democrats accountable. I'm not registered with a party. The things that I believe and the principles I believe carry through. So if you're a Republican and you're violating those principles, I'm going after you. If you're a Democrat and you're violating those principles, I'm going after you. So the one saving grace was people were like, she's consistent. She didn't vote for him because I didn't believe Donald Trump was a conservative. He had been on air multiple times talking about socialized medicine. He had character issues, the same character issues that I had when it came to Bill Clinton, I had when it came to Donald Trump. So people, I think, looked at me and said, you know what, we may not agree with her, but she's the real deal. Like, she's telling the truth and she's not changing what she says she stands for to back some guy because he's running with the Republican Party. So
do you think if this guy, meaning Donald, winds up doing some pretty surprising things, like, let's say, denuclearizing the whole, Korean peninsula and making peace elsewhere, getting rid of ISIS, if he does some major things in this world to make a difference, will it shift people's thinking, or is it just impossible for Donald Trump?
Well, I think that some people are very committed. They have this perception of who he is. They don't like some of the things he's done. They don't like how he's spoken about women. They don't like his demeanor and his approach. He's an in-your-face kind of guy. He insults people all day long, as we know. So I think they're committed to him. They want him impeached because they don't want that kind of character representative of that office. They want to be able to look at the presidency in high prestige.
I can absolutely say you can hate somebody for doing those things. Mm-hmm. When it comes down to a checkbox for the president's job. Mm-hmm. You can't impeach someone because you don't like them.
Right, but they're looking into the Russia collusion, and I think they feel that he's muddy. He's got a lot of issues, and I think they would love to see him go and be replaced by a guy that is kind of more serious about this job. With that being said,
they're all muddy.
I agree 100%. I always say to people, you're looking for a politician that's not corrupt.
Muddy.
stop. You're not going to find it. They're all that way.
But I wondered, truthfully, though, think about it. If he wound up doing some major presidential, what would you call it? Checking the box of these major events that presidents haven't been able to do ever.
Yeah.
If he's able to bring peace to the world, let's say, okay?
Right. Something major
Let's do something major. Do you think that people can get over their stereotype of him?
I think they would. Some people would give credit where credit's due. I think there's a lot of people in media that fight that, and they want to hate him, and they're determined to find if he does 5 good things, and he does one terrible thing. That's the terrible thing is what makes the headline. He doesn't help himself out in that regard, I will say. But I do think that, with respect to like what's going on with Syria right now, if he winds up putting pressure on Assad, who's responsible for a massive genocide of people right now, if he winds up sort of manhandling Putin, even though everybody thinks he's, afraid of Russia or he's got ties to Russia, if he winds up having an authoritative position on that in his words, puts America first or whatever, I think people will give him credit for that. I just don't know that they're ever going to be comfortable with this guy as their president if they've already seen so many actions that they feel from him are divisive and that marginalize them. Whether it comes to race or gender, people have decided that he's not their president, that he's not representative of them. And as a result, they have a blindfold on. And even if he does something national security wise or whatever you're saying that's amazing, they're still like, yeah, but that's Donald Trump and he doesn't care about me because of X, Y, and Z. I don't know. I would like to
think. Do you think that's fair?
Look, I think you have to, the primary job of the president of the United States is to protect the people, and to act in the interest of Americans. I think that you have to be able to compartmentalize a little bit. You don't have to vote for him if you don't like his character. I didn't vote for him. But I think you also have to be able to look at your paycheck. Is he helping me when it comes to tax reform? Am I actually taking more of my hard-earned cash home? When you look at regulations, is my husband who works in X, Y, and Z industry benefiting from this? Does he have more money in his pocket? Is our family able to feed, ourselves, our, extended family? I think you have to be able to look at the issues and say, you know what? My biggest thing is you can say, I don't like this guy, but he's doing a good job on X, Y, and Z. You have to be able to do that. I mean, I do it in my job every day.
Exactly. Speaking of doing a good job and not doing a good job, I'd love to bring up Comey real quick.
Oh, boy.
The interview that he did with George. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
All right. I'm not a Comey fan, to be honest with you. I think this guy is on a pity party tour. I'm tired of him. He's been so inconsistent. When he came out before the election, first of all, he came out initially and gave an entire case for why Hillary Clinton should have been indicted, and then didn't indict her and confused everybody. And then everybody said, well, what are you doing? Then he came out before the election and he said, oh, by the way, we're still investigating some of these emails, but he didn't have any answer. Completely threw the election into upheaval for a reason nobody can understand. Why? Why do I think? Because Comey likes to be in front of the camera.
Oh, totally.
He
Egomaniac.
He likes to be the guy who's like, he's front and center. He's making big decisions. I think it's all about him. And I'm tired of listening to him. I don't care.
Me too.
He's talking about Donald Trump's hands and his tie. It's like, shut up, man. You're supposed to be above that. Like, talk to me about other stuff. Like, I also don't want to hear about like the pee-pee party with the prostitutes anymore.
Right.
I like, who cares?
Head of the FBI, dude. Shut the fuck up.
I know.
I mean, when he stood before Congress and said, frankly, I was intimidated when I sat with the president, I go, really?
Right.
You're intimidated with a guy that looks like Oompa Loompa and you're the head of the FBI?
Right. That's why I have no respect for him. It's like if you can't stand up and say,
pussy,
hey, look, then who's going to do it? First of all, you shouldn't have been in that job if you couldn't take the heat from him. If President Trump said something to you didn't like, yeah, he's a man baby. He's a man baby. He is, and he wants all the attention. Now, of course, he's going to get a ton of money off this book.
It's just a big fucking baby game. You know what I realized? Politics is WWE. For
it's
smart
worse.
People. It literally is it's WWE. I was watching WWE with my son the other day, and I'm like, there's these soap operas with these crazy guys, and they're cheering him on, and they hate the enemy, and they heel, and I'm going, oh my God, politics is literally the same. Like figuring out what the story is, and the drama, and finding the good guy and the bad guy, and then the good guy changes to the bad guy. I mean, it's literally wrestling.
And they're also like, we elect them and they do no work. Like, I don't know if you watched the Mark Zuckerberg hearings about Facebook.
Yes.
It was humiliating. I'm sitting there, I'm like, guys, you couldn't read an article. You're asking him, oh, is Facebook like Twitter? I mean, it was like a bunch of babies who hadn't. I go do a television show and I have to do show prep for the day. They weren't embarrassed to be sitting there.
I was really embarrassed for them. Plus, no one brought up the fact that someone from Facebook had went to a hospital administration and said, "Can you give us your patient's information?"
Right.
I was like, "Where's that?" And
Because they didn't do. But
you're doing a shout out for your son's Instagram.
Right.
Thank you for that time. And Congress has done dick. They literally don't work. They don't do their job.
No, they build up debt is what they do, both sides of the aisle. That's why I feel like this is my time in a way, because both sides of the aisle really suck. Republicans say, oh, we're about small government and we care about the debt, and then they keep approving bills that spend everybody's money, and Democrats don't care.
So
and
nice
it's like,
to be an independent.
Are you an independent as well?
I'm independent.
It's a beautiful thing.
It is. I'm just like, you suck and you suck. And you know what? I agree with you on that point, and I agree with you on that point for that. You know, it really depends on.
Yeah, but do you take heat for that? Because what happens to me is there are some people that say, "Oh, you know what? You don't stand for anything because you're not consistent." And I say, "No, that's called a thinking person, because a normal thinking person would look at an issue and say, open mind and evaluate right and wrong and not be loyal to a party." But people want to see that tunnel vision of like, "Oh, a Republican's in office, let me get up and defend everything the Republicans doing." That's called either a talking point person or a moron. I mean, that's an idiot. So do you get heat as a like for saying that, what you just said?
No, I get heat in other areas called the CDC. But but everywhere else, no, I don't. You know, because I say the same thing. I say, you know what? I have an open mind, and I'll do my own critical thinking. Thank you very much.
Good for
you. And leave it at that. Yeah. I could talk to you forever. I really enjoyed you. I'm so excited for your book. I'm so excited to see where you land. And I can't wait to come on your show and be interviewed by you.
Oh, you're coming on, man. We're going to break it down.
Let's break it down.
You better bring that light. You got 2 of those lights, though?
Honey, I've got 4 of them.
I would like 2 for me, 2 for you. We'll come. I've never seen anyone look this gorgeous on radio. Seriously, sign me up for everything she uses.
Bila, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Jenny.
I'm going to keep an eye out on you, girl. Bye, hon.
Bye.
Jenny McCarthy Show. Oh!